Evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome over here to this live session on Real Talk on communication and connection. So, before we start, I would like to introduce myself to all of you. So, my name is Dr. Febi Bijoy. I am a veterinary doctor by education and I worked in various domains like clinics, pharma industry. I was professor in two of the colleges and I also worked in corporate. So, after having 17 plus years of experience, I passionately got into coaching industry. Until now, I have impacted almost 500 plus ambitious women to create a roadmap for their personal and professional success. Let it be emotional baggages they carry, or relationship issues, or growing their career and business. So, this Christmas, I'm planning to give a masterclass on communication and connection in work and life because Christmas is a season of giving gift. And I have noticed by working along with my mentees that the basic connection is missing in relationships. So I wanted to bring up that topic and help all of you to learn the strategies to make genuine and authentic connection. So, welcome to this very special session where we dive deep into the art of mastering communication and connection in work and life. And I'm thrilled to have you here as we gear up for my upcoming masterclass on communication and connection day after tomorrow, that is 20th December at 8 p.m. So, this session is designed to give you a taste of what's to come with practical insights and meaningful conversations. So, today I'm honored to have a very special guest with us, a dear friend and coach all the way from Nigeria. Let me welcome her and bring her on stage. Hi, Benita.
Hello,
Hello.
how are you?
Yeah. So here is Benita, and I welcome you on the virtual stage. So we will talk with her, but I want to tell you this conversation is not just about techniques and strategies, it's about real, raw stories and actionable takeaways that can, help you connect more deeply and authentically in every aspect of your life. All right. So let's begin. Hi, Benita. I want to give a short introduction of hers. She is an author, an early child educator, a public speaker, and a mindset self thought coach. She is a positive self thought influencer interested in helping others see the best in themselves. Wow. She is a self love, acceptance, forgiveness, celebration, and development advocate, a voice on a mission, and God's masterpiece. Benita is the founder of the Benny Expression Show and the host of the same. And she is the host of the Voice on a Mission podcast and lead coach at Benny Speakers Academy. An Amazon International best-selling author, mindset, self-thought influencer. She is a global speaker as well, educationist, and host of U Conference PPS Scoop, a primary school podcast where she hosts students and parents with the aim of boosting their confidence and communication skills, and a lover of God. So, as a global speaker, Benita has spoken on many stages, both physical and virtual, as well as hosted speakers around the world on mindset, self acceptance, self thoughts, and self love related topics on her show. Wow, amazing, Benita. I'm happy to have you here. How are you doing?
I am so honored to be here. I am doing great, and yes, welcome to Nigeria.
Yes. All right. So we'll start by hearing about Benita's inspiring journey and how her cultural background has shaped her understanding of communication and connection. So, Benita, can you start by telling us about your journey, that what inspired you to become a coach?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Fabi, for this great and awesome opportunity. And I really cherish and celebrate our connection and our friendship. So thank you so much. And yes, everyone, nice to meet you because I know I'll see you in the comments. So just be sure to share if you can, like and comment because right here we're about to take home a lot. And coming back to me, becoming a coach, yes, that's a long story that I'm going to just make very short for the purpose of time. You see, it's never been an easy thing for me to connect with people. I would say the most shy one amongst my siblings. I was timid and I'm also an introvert. So being an introvert and being timid is one thing you two things you're putting together, you're expecting this kind of person. But I grew out of it and I'm a better person now. Now, why I became a coach, a public speaking coach, importantly, I started when I feel like, okay, I was misunderstanding people's reactions and people's expression towards me. As a child, being timid, I always felt like I was not loved, I was not accepted, I was not seen, I was not heard. Nobody cared about me. I felt that way. So when compliments came, I always felt like, they don't mean it. They're just pulling my leg, that kind of thing. Like they're not being sincere, they're not true. And that made me feel like I was growing up now. I feel like I lost lots of opportunity because I did not understand their form of communication. So I told myself, okay, I love broadcasting as a child, and I felt the need to go into studying it. So I read communication arts. So I'm a communication. I'm a full graduate as a communicator. So I feel like, okay, other people too have this misconception about sharing their story, which is what I'm all about. I'm yourself. That's why we have many expression. You talking about yourself, most especially choosing the best part of you and not even looking down on the other part, the weaker part of myself that you're working on. So getting to the place where I told myself, it's high time that I start accepting compliments. Let's start from there. I start accepting compliments. And I realized that there are others out there too who, number one, do not understand how to accept compliments. Number two, cannot share their ideas. And number three, they cannot make or build a great connection because they can't communicate their feelings, they can't communicate their thoughts, they can't share their perspective. And there are also those who are not good listeners who quickly jumps to conclusion, responding to things without paying attention. So that way they miss the truth, the important thing. So why not step out and teach what I know, both as a professional communicator and also one in training, because I'm also part of those being trained as well, because you can never learn everything. So that's just how my journey has been so far, getting to a place where I feel like I need others to not be like me, refusing great compliments that could make them better persons, or stepping back from taking what is rightfully theirs because they can't communicate their feelings or because they do not understand what the other person or what is coming from the other end towards them. So I felt there was need to rise up to that task. I know there are communication coaches around the world, communication coaches, public speaking trainers, but when you have an idea that or an inspiration that's it's from your personal experience, you have a lot to say than someone who's just stepping up to make money with the calling. So that's been my journey, just to say short, like I said.
Yeah, and when you were saying about your journey, I could relate it to it so much because I'm also an introvert, and it was very difficult for me to step out of my comfort zone and interacting and connecting with people. Yes, I understand. It's so difficult because we have been never been acknowledged for our even the biggest thing or the smallest thing. So whenever we get compliments, we are not ready to accept it. So I completely resonate with it. And as you said, when you come up with your own story, with your own experience out into the world to teach the world, it's way different because
Yeah,
it will be different because there will be people exactly like you who would love to learn from you. So thank you very much for sharing your story, and I could
thank
completely relate to it. So yeah, as we are setting the stage for building genuine connection, which will help us to build stronger connection and relationship. So for me, relationships are very important, and we as social animals, I believe we need to connect. We cannot be alone. Do you also believe in that?
I do. I do because a lot of things I've achieved so far, things I intend to achieve, what I'm working on presently, I'm getting attention, I'm getting the opportunity and the chances that I'm getting through connection, through relationships. For instance, I am on your show today. So
Yes.
that is one true doing, but I also believe in building. I know that relationship are of different types, but there are personal relationship, there are professional relationship, but whatever way you find yourself, I believe that if you want to build a great relationship and stay connected, be understood, and also understand the other person, you have to also be great at communicating. Now, communicating does not really mean just words. There are actions as well. Like we have non-verbal cues that also talks about that. So if you're ever going to build a great relationship, you need to be one that can converse, like sharing your experience and talking about your own perspective, and also being able to talk about accept the other person's perspective. I know we're going to talk more about it as we go. So
Yes.
yes, I believe in having a great relationship, no matter where it comes from, personal or professional. It will help us go farther than we should, or farther than we could have gone alone. And it will help us connect with the people we might not have connected with if we were dependent on our own, or on ourselves alone. So relationship is good. I think that there's this saying that your network can be your net worth, right?
Right. And this is very famous amongst we coaches. We can very well relate to
Yeah.
that. Okay. All right. So, as you were talking about it, so what do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of communication in today's fast-paced world?
Okay, a lot, a lot of things are being misperceived, but I'll
Hmm.
just point on one, which is the fact that communication is all about speaking or sending a message.
Hmm.
Some things it's just you talking. It's just about should you send a message, right? Just text the person, just call the person, just say whatever you feel.
Hmm.
People think that is what communication actually is. But I beg to differ as a communication coach. I beg to differ because there is something much bigger, deeper, and stronger than just speaking like we're speaking or sending a message.
Correct.
And that is listening,
Correct.
effective listening,
Yeah.
effective listening. Now, we perceive things wrongly because we do not listen attentively. We do not pay attention to what the other person really means. So we tend to just respond speedily. Like, okay, oh, I understand. Don't
Hmm.
worry, I know what you mean. Excuse me, you don't know what he or she means. So listen. Yeah, the true meaning of what the other sender means is in the thin line that you need to pay attention to. Good
Correct.
listeners are great communicators, and they have great connections. They have great relationship. It could be personal relationship or at work, because they can listen to the things that are said in between lines,
Hmm.
where others would just look at the words pouring out, but they pay attention to the meaning, what is not said, the whisper after the words have been spoken. They pay attention to the non-verbal cues. They pay attention to the movement of the word, the facial expression, everything. So in the end, they can respond sensibly. They can
Correct.
respond connecting to the other person. They can respond being able to give the true meaning to what the other person has asked, answered for. So if you are one who has believed that communication is just about speaking or just about high low, just about sending a message to the other person, you are wrong. People have said that, but in the end, they have regretted it. You need to listen to actually get a meaning of what the other person has said. We have different perceptions, different perspective toward things, different ideas, different backgrounds. When somebody says something, a lot of things comes to mind to make up or assume a meaning for what the
Hmm.
person has said. What I'm saying right now, you listening might have different interpretation, but if you pay attention to what I really mean, you will understand it. So it's not something you just rush to respond. It's something that you really listen. Take a moment to hear what the other person is saying, then you will get the real meaning of what the person is saying. So let's not pay attention to that misconception that communication is about speaking and sending message or what's there about, and pay attention to what it truly means to communicate. That is listening to get the real meaning. As while studying, our lecturer used to tell us that if you send a message and the receiver does not understand, cannot interpret the message, then you have not communicated, which is very true. Now, if the receiver does not understand me, that means I've sent the wrong signal. And then it could be my fault. It can also be the fault of the receiver because the receiver might not take time to pay attention to the meaning of what I've sent. Or I might have used the wrong method where the receiver cannot respond or interpret the message. So it's not about sending a message either to your loved ones, either to your friends, either for colleagues, but paying attention to what it means as a sender. And then if you are the receiver, listen and you'll get the result. So that's what I just want to say about that.
Yeah, exactly the same thing I am also covering in my masterclass, which is happening day after tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. So this is what I always go or tell my mentees also. See, we have been taught in school to read, to write, but we have not been taught to listen. So this
Yeah,
is like
very true.
we consider or we take our ears just for granted. So as you rightly said, if we pay attentively to what other person is saying, we will interpret it correctly and we will understand what the other person is saying. That will reduce a lot of misunderstandings and misinterpretations. So
True.
yeah,
Very
thank you
true.
very much for sharing such a insightful thing. So moving ahead, I wanted to ask you, like, what role does emotional sensitivity play in building strong connections, and how can someone turn it into strength rather than a barrier? And I believe that you will agree with me. Being introverts, it's we connect through emotions. So what
True.
do you have to
Very.
say about this?
I can immediately respond to that because I understand that part. We, I don't think someone will look at me and will say, "Oh, you're not an introvert. You like this." And I say yes because I have learned to crawl, to walk out of my comfort zone. So now I'm experiencing the world out of my comfort zone. I'm learning to be uncomfortable about things that are going to help me grow. Because if I'm comfortable in my comfort zone, definitely I can't step out. So I have stepped out of my comfort zone, struggling, doing it afraid, and getting to where I am today.
Hmm.
And one thing I have benefited in the process is being able to work on my emotional sensitivity because I respond first emotionally before I can even reason when you say something. But now I have worked on myself to a place where I say, okay, I'm not going to let my emotions stand in the way of me being sensible. I'm not going to let myself allow my emotion stop me from getting the real result I want or paying attention to the real meaning of every comment or every compliment or the feedbacks I get. So, emotional sensitivity plays a very vital part in any of our response in our relationship, in our connections. But if you're not one to know how to manage it, it can destroy you. It can destroy your relationship. But if you're one good at managing it, it can help you grow. It can become one good weapon you can use to strengthen yourself, to build your confidence, to build your strength, to build your boldness, if I may say that. E- Emotional sensitivity in a way fosters empathy.
Yes.
That is being able to think in the shoe of the other person,
Exactly.
being able to truly come to terms with what the other person might mean, being able to understand the other person. Because when we are too sensitive and about something and we just take it to ourselves,
Hmm.
instead of just thinking first about the other person, we tend to naturally quickly get to a point of saying, okay, she's looking down on me, he's looking down on me, he does not love me, he does not trust me, he does not want me. I don't think it's good for me. They're not giving me a right job. They don't think I'm doing well. My job is not fun. All those negative things because we've allowed our emotion to take over and play with our sense, play with our minds. But when we're able to manage it, we step out of focusing on ourselves to focusing on what the other person might be going through, what could make the other person say what he or she has said, what could make the feedback you receive come the way it came. So when you learn to manage your emotional sensitivity, you are able to get to a place of sympathizing with the other person, having that heart of empathy towards others, and that will lead to building trust. And you know, in any relationship, trust is the foundation. So
Yes.
when you're able to manage, you're able to learn to understand the other person, you're able to try to agree with the other person's perception or perspective, or
Hmm.
try to read better meanings into the other person's thought and idea that the person has shared, instead of just looking at you and thinking you're the problem or that everybody's the problem, the world is the problem. So find a way to manage your emotion. That one way I can say, stop focusing too much attention on you being a problem or everyone around you being a problem to
Yeah.
having to think or putting yourself also in other people's shoes to see how you too cannot be depressed by whatever comes from their own end. And you too won't be sending a negative vibe or a negative, how would I put it, energy into the universe or into the atmosphere or to the next person. So it's very important, but one way it can help us foster empathy, help us understand the other person, and as well, we can manage it well, it can build our trust. And trust me, our relationship, our connection can be built on a solid ground. So that I can just say that.
Yeah, you have made it into a very beautiful, in two lines, in a nutshell, if I want to say. So there are two aspects of it, like emotional sensitivity. Don't take everything on your head, thinking that
Mm,
this is the problem with me or this is the problem with that person. And on the other hand, being emotionally sensitive so that you can empathize with the other person, which
yeah,
will, these two balances will help you to get into, more stronger connections and more stronger base or a foundation for relationship. So well
yeah.
said, Benita, and I completely agree with that. Moving ahead, I just wanted to ask you, like, have you ever experienced a moment where, you know poor communication caused a major disconnect in your life?
Okay. Mm, you know, communicate. These slogans we use back to T, we say communicate or perish. I think on my page, Benny Speakers Academy, I have that. I did a series for 1 week talking about the benefit you get from being able to share your ideas. So you communicate or you perish. Now, communication is only done, like I said earlier, when the other person is able to interpret whatever information you have sent out. When your partner is able to interpret exactly what you want him or her to interpret from what you have said, when the message you send truly says what you mean in the other person's viewpoint. So, poor communication, I tell you, will hinder a lot. It will mess with your head, mix up your ideas, mix up your thought. It can even mess with your mental health if you're not careful.
Yes.
That's to say, you mean to say, oh, Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being there for me. And the next person think, oh, this one is mocking at me. Okay, so you try to say I'm not good enough. I'm like other people that you send gifts. You're just only telling me with words that you appreciate me. What about others that you send gifts to? So I do not get to that point in your book of getting gifts. It's just verbal. You're telling me thank you verbally when others are going with gifts. But the misconception there is that the person didn't pay attention to the true meaning of what you have said. So he can't understand the sincerity in the thank you. It can person can the person is expecting something else different from what you have said. So so poor communication usually arises from assumption. Let me make
Yes.
that clear. Arise from assumption. Recently, I had a conversation with my friend just yesterday because something happened some months back, though it left my mind, but we had a conversation about something that actually brought back that memory. And her friend came, we're having a program, we've been working together to oversee the program. And then her friend that she's known for years came around and she unconsciously unconsciously wasn't paying attention to me anymore. It was more focused on the other person. And I misinterpreted that. I felt
Okay.
like, okay, she didn't pay attention to me, but she didn't know. She was communicating something else. She was communicating something else. She was there, she was present, but I perceived something different. I perceived that she needed the other person the more. I perceived that she wanted to be around the other person the more. I perceived that I wasn't valuable at that point. But thank God for being a coach and thank God for my years of training and coaching. I had to quickly run back to my emotion and say, excuse me, you don't have to take this personal. No, I had to tell myself, okay, this is where this way you have to be emotionally sensitive, but then you have to manage it, make it work for you, not against you. So I walked myself through the idea that she has known this person for a longer time than she has with me, then that we have our own connection. Now you don't want to tell me that someone that you have connected with for 20 years should be shift aside or put aside just so you can connect with someone you just met for 5 years.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. It doesn't
Yes.
make sense. So I made myself communicate that to myself. So I had to take away what I perceived from what she communicated and recommunicate what I really want myself to hear. So I will stay served. I will stay mentally sound because it was beginning to make me feel like, like I don't understand what's going on here. What is happening? Why am I being moved aside? Why am I not being paid attention, paid attention to? So poor communication from assumption. I assumed that she needed the other person the more. Whereas we have our connection, she has a connection with the other person. What I did in the end was to also go close to the person she was close to. So we both can work together, we can talk together. So now I brought myself into the picture, how I'm not having that feeling of being sent aside. You get so if I had just stayed in assuming that I'm not needed, I'm not important because of the way the message came at me, the IG came at me, the story came at me, I think we won't be friends anymore now. And the funniest thing is that the person who made this poor communication, who sent this wrong signal, didn't even notice she did. Didn't even
Exactly.
know she did. So
Yeah.
sometimes when we assume that we understand what the other person mean, it might be different. That is where we have some issues that we have in relationships. Some partners are like, okay, you no longer pay attention to me, I no longer matter. That is when you have to openly confront the person and say, okay, I feel you did this, I feel you did that. That's when you now get to understand that, no, that's not what I meant. No,
Yes.
this is what I meant. You
Yes.
see, that is why you say effective communication is important. And this is also where our emotions plays a lot of tricks with us. When you're able to confront the other person openly, you can talk about things and then you could get to get the true meaning of what the other person meant, and the issue will be solved.
Yes.
But for some of us, we stay in the assumption stage. I heard
Yes.
this. That's what he said. That's what
Yeah.
she said. This is what it meant. I believe this. Let's go with that. No. Poor communication actually has made me get angry with someone I shouldn't have gotten angry with. And getting back didn't even favor either of us. So we went our separate ways. So
Mhm.
if you in the stage of just assuming, because that's where communication comes from, I assume I understand what the baby means, whereas I do not. And I am not willing to come off my comfort zone to tell her, okay, I felt hot that you said this, or what exactly did you mean when you said this? If you stay in that stage, you're going to miss connecting with the right people, and you're going to lose your connection or your relationships. You're going to have issues, or even at the office, you're going to be enemies to a lot of your colleagues. So, what you do, step out of the assumption stage, reach out and openly confront the other person. Hi, so what did you mean by this? Honestly, I didn't feel good about it. Then you get the true meaning of what the person's means. So for me, is what I pray God will help me not to encounter, because I'm ready to build greater connections from now on. So I pray that we all too will walk in the right path of understanding true meaning of conversations, so we don't get to send the wrong signals.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I can relate with this as well, this particular example, because many of the women face this. Many of the women are in that assumption zone. Yes, he did like this
True.
to me, or she did like this to me because of XYZ reason, and these XY reasons are also made
Yeah.
up in our mind. So
Yeah.
many of the women face this. I have heard this so many times. I have heard from my mentees, oh, my husband doesn't love me. Okay, how do you know that? Because he said this to me. Okay, did you go and talk to him about it? No, why should I talk to him about it? So this is
Yeah.
what is missing over here. You have to go and confront that. What is it that, just ask, validate whether what I thought or what I interpreted was right or wrong. So there itself it will be like, diluted, and it can be resolved there itself. But people do not go and confront it, just be in their assumption mode. So you said
And
rightly, yeah.
as a child, I was where actually women were naturally emotional beings, because
Yes.
our emotions act and speak first before we
Yeah.
start raising. You know,
Yeah.
as a child, whenever they say things I interpreted my own way, which is not what they meant, I started crying. And
Yes.
I can be depressed.
Yes.
So many women are facing that right now in their relationship. They didn't get the true meaning, and now they are depressed. Some
Yes.
go to the extent of wanting to commit suicide. If you are in that stage, please come back. It's
Yes.
assumption that's trying to kill you. It's assumption that is trying to break your relationship apart. Have a clear conversation and understand what the other person means, and free your mind and free yourself, so that
Correct.
you do not break a good relationship out of assumption because of poor communication. That's just what I wanted to add.
Yes, yes, that's amazing, because that's so important, at least come and confront. Maybe your problem will be solved then and there itself. All right. So, Benita, tell me, what is your go to strategy for handling difficult conversations, whether at work or in personal life?
Hmm. We a lot of times when we have conversation or things happen, people say things, we might not be prepared. And that's what hurts the most, because you are
Hmm.
not prepared. So what someone says to you hurts a lot. But
Yes.
for me, over time, I've learned to prepare mentally.
Hmm.
I've learned to prepare mentally. I've learned to tell myself to stay calm at every situation. And
Mm-hmm.
I've learned to stop focusing on the other person, but on the issue.
Okay.
Now, not listen to that, but I think Focusing on the person will make you attack the person, but
Yes.
focusing on the issue will help you look for solution, will help you
Exactly.
try to find the solution. So if I'm facing difficult situations where I need to clear myself, or I've been misjudged, or some negative feedbacks, or some, negative comments, I've already mentally, like right now, prepared myself, because over time, as a child, I was timid, and having to fight to a place where I can boldly call myself a positive self-thought influencer. That is to say that I've gone through stages of understanding my thoughts to where I can understand how it affects me when somebody says something. Under the level of just being me as a child, I was always affected by people's comment. I was always victimized by their words. I was mentally abused. I
Mm-hmm.
took everything negatively. So every reaction disturbed me. Every word was hurting me. Every comment was breaking my heart. Everything was coming at me negatively. So I was destabilized. But having worked myself to a place of building to a place of building a positive mindset, to a place of acceptance, to a place of forgiving myself, to the place of celebrating my little win, I've gotten to the point of telling myself to stay calm at all situation.
Mm-hmm.
Gotten to a place of preparing myself mentally. Now, what I say to myself often is that people are free to talk.
Yes.
People have freedom to word, freedom to speech. They are free to say everything. They have 100% right to assume everything and anything they want to assume
Yes.
about me. But
Yes.
one thing I know about myself is that I love who I am now, and I have confidence in my ability as a strong person. So, what the other person says, he or she is free to say it until I take it. That's when it starts to affect me. So I tell myself every day, everybody is free to talk. We have 100% right to talk. Go ahead, talk. You have the mouth, whatever you want to say. But I have walked myself out of my comfort zone of negativity to a place of telling myself that my words are a healing balm. And because of that, I have to be prepared mentally. I have to stay calm at all situations. I have to take my mind off whoever is involved and focus on what the problem is, so I can actually know how to look for solution for it. So for me, I built myself to that place. Now there are some persons who haven't even started the journey of mental stability because of maybe their childhood trauma, the physical abuse, because of the relief traumas in different ways, different things, life experience itself, family problems, and all of that. So everything gets at them. So
Yes.
you need to be the one voicing what you want yourself to be, voicing who you want to be. That is how to communicate. That's how to converse. That's how to connect with yourself. Now, when you're able to connect with yourself, you're able to tell yourself the truth about you. And
Correct.
the truth, what were you created to be? Who were you created to be? What were you given as a gift to the universe? Now, when you are able to come into terms with who you are, what you are, the message, the story you carry, when people start throwing stones at your glass house, they won't remember they had theirs.
Yes.
But when it hits the glass, there is a cotton. There is a cotton. So the glass breaks, but the cotton that you have put around your mindset, around your mind, about your heart, is keeping you safe from breaking or giving your life just because somebody said one negative thing about you. Or the person is. So for me, you have to learn to help your mental set get to a place of calmness, as well as taking your mind and focusing on the issue. Sometimes is the way they put the thing, the way they did the things, the problem, not the person. Because you might have misperceived the person and destroy the relationship. So what I do, I prepare myself already to mentally stay strong. So staying calm allow me to focus for a minute, listen to the other person, and when I respond, you sure know I will make sense because I must have put some things together. The person's perspective, the person's feeling, the person's idea towards this, and then tell myself, you're not going in for this. You are staying out of this. And as such, we are finding solution for this. And in the end, if we come back together, good. But if the relationship goes apart, at least I will know I didn't put the blame on the person. I was actually focusing on finding solution for whatever the problem was that put me in that difficult situation. So let's take it from there.
Yes, yes. So, like, working from the place of that calm, working from the place of getting connected to yourself. So, that's very important. So, before getting connected to others, before getting into any relationship, before blaming anyone, first start connecting with yourself. First know yourself. People do not know themselves, and they just keep interpreting and assuming things about others, and then make a heap of thoughts and get into that overthinking pattern, and there are a lot of consequences because of that. So the first and foremost thing what I would suggest is to make connection with yourself, and automatically that connection will make the authentic connections with others. So this is something which is missing in many of the people. They do not know themselves. So that's the
Hmm,
first and foremost thing I believe it's important. All right.
definitely.
So Benita, what would you say is one of the non-negotiable elements for mastering authentic connection?
Okay, non-negotiable element. Okay. Communication can be mastered anyway if you're interested. Effective communication is key in every relationship. And one key or two elements I would mention is honesty, number one. Honesty because to stay connected to the right people, you have to be true to yourself. Being authentic is key. And you cannot be authentic if you're not honest.
Yes.
So to be able to converse, to be able to connect with the right people or stay connected, you have to be honest. Now, the next thing you have to be present. You have to be present. The other person wants to connect with a real person, not an imagination or an imaginary being, not with a, how would I put it, a picture or something. And what makes us true human that we can really connect with others is when we are able to be present with those people. When we're with those people, I meant to say. Not like now we're connecting, we're talking, we're chatting, we're live, and I am we're talking about non-negotiable element for mastering communication and staying connected. And I'm thinking of my next program. I'm thinking of have I communicated with my speakers? I'm thinking about have I reached out to them? Have I finished arranging the venue? I'm thinking a lot of things. And you're like, okay, Benny, did you hear what I said? Oh, what did you say again? What did you say again? You know, it might be okay it happened once, but twice, thrice, many times, you will naturally feel like, okay, she's not interested in me. She doesn't want to understand me. She doesn't want to know me better. She doesn't want to understand or take correction or anything. A friend said something the other day. She noticed something around one of her friend and she tried to speak to the friend about it and the friend was busy playing game.
Okay.
You know, was
Yeah,
busy
this
playing
happens.
game. And you're like you it turns you off. It turns you off. But when you are present, the other person feels needed, feels
Yes.
understood, feels accepted. And when you are honest, you're being your true self. Trust me, there is no connection that cannot be saved, or there's no connection that cannot flourish. under the honesty of the other person or presence of the other person. So I believe that there are other elements, but these two prime they are of importance, and I want you to know. Number one is honest. Be authentic. Be yourself. Let the person accept you as you are. Now, some of my friends will say, "Okay, I think you were different at home than you are at work, or you are in church, or you are outside." I said, This is me home, outside. This is why do I need to be different? As a child, I always desired to be someone else because I didn't like myself. I felt like others were loved and accepted because of who they were, because of the
Yes.
things they had. But I felt that I was not loved because of the way I was. So I wished to be like them as a child. But as an adult right now, growing up to understand that I have my mission, I have my purpose, I have my calling, I have a voice, there is never a need for me to now want to be like someone else.
Yeah.
Over time, I have built my courage to a place where I talk to myself that I'm important, I'm amazing. Come on, I'm a masterpiece. I can appear before kings and queens, ladies of the universe. So why do I need to want to be like someone else? You get
Mm.
so I my true self, you meet me on the street. This is me. I come on camera, this is me. I'm in church, this is me. I wake up, I say, this is me. So I need to be true so that if you accept me, I know the real me before coming to me. And if you reject me, I know I was not important to you or I'm not what was needed in your life. You get I don't need you to let us say, oh, so this is who you truly are. This is who you are. I thought you were this. No, don't think I was this. I am this. And I will be this even when you finish thinking. Yeah. So one that element is honesty. Be true to yourself and let the other person take you as you are. And they don't want you are most important to yourself and you're created than anyone else. So if they reject you, does not mean you can reject yourself. No, you were special to you. When you're true to yourself, when you're authentic, that means you have accepted yourself, even if
Yes.
they don't. And be present. When you're present for other people, get to understand them. It's easier not to judge or misjudge them or misinterpret the signals they send to you. And you get to understand them better. You get to connect with them the right way. You get to be yourself around them. But when you're not present, you cannot understand them. Even couples, if they're not present, if they're not paying attention to each other, they cannot learn one or two most important things about themselves. So you need to be present is key. For any connection, be authentic. That's be honest with yourself, with the other person, and be present whenever the need arises at any time. Phone call, text, or in physical. Be present. It's important. I can just say that.
Right, Benita. So, as you said, honesty is one of the non negotiable elements if you want to build that authentic connection. And one thing, what you mentioned, it's very important that we keep comparing ourselves with others, and it comes from our childhood things. We feel that we would be loved only when we look like that person, or only when we have the things what the other person has, and we start copying them and lose ourselves. So this is very very important for being honest to ourselves, being authentic to ourselves, and that is one of the important thing. What I like about you, you are so authentic and you're so genuine. That's why probably I like people who are authentic, and that's why I was able to connect with you. So thank you for sharing that, Benita. And one question I would like to ask before we wind up our session is, what or just can you give one golden nugget to my audience about fostering meaningful connections? What would that be?
Okay. One thing you need to know is if you're going to stay connected to people and if you're going to be a good communicator, even if you're just starting out, The key thing is that effective, there is communication is communication. Effective communication is when whatever message you send makes sense. So it's interpret the way you
Benita, I guess there is
send out.
some network issue at your end. We are missing your words in between.
So one thing I will
I guess she had some network issue, and I guess she's off the screen. And anyways, we had a lot of insights from Benita Samuel all the way from Nigeria. And I had met her, like, maybe a year back. And I felt that authentic connection is so important through her. I have learned from her. So she was Benita Samuel all the way from Nigeria. So we have set the stage for day after tomorrow. We'll meet again for my masterclass, Mastering Communication and Connection in Work and Life, and I'll share with you some simple strategies which you might have forgotten and you must not be doing consistently. So come and bring in your friends and colleagues with you. So I'm sure you will get wonderful confidence when you go from here after my masterclass, which is going to happen day after tomorrow at 8 p.m. same place. So don't forget, see you tomorrow, all right? And I hope the session with Benita has helped you a lot. You have got enough and more than enough strategies and tactics and lot of learnings from her. And stay tuned, follow me for more insights like this and masterclasses for this. So God bless you. Please do come for the masterclass which is happening day after tomorrow. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of insights over there as well. All right, see you. Bye bye. Take care. Good night.